All right, so welcome to the next section, training your puppy. Now we're going to be covering a lot of different forms of disciplining for different kinds of situations. I'm going to start in this video about the introduction to some disciplining as a puppy, where puppies do certain things that they're not supposed to do. And in subsequent videos, I'm going to be talking about individual problems that you may encounter and how to stop them even as they get a little bit older, of course. Now, the whole situation about those kinds of training issues is often because there is somewhat of a problem with the 7 principles of for the success in your dog's life, of course. So often you have to refer to the fundamentals section where you actually will learn how to implement it correctly, so some of the behavior that was a result of the failure of the 7 principles will take place. So you have to actually refer to that first if you actually want to understand why your dog is doing it in the first place. So now let's dive into this section here. I'm going to be talking about training your puppy. When you just got your puppy, the first few weeks they don't know everything around the house yet, so you need to teach them what they can and cannot do. So obviously, a new puppy, you bring it home, they don't know they cannot chew on this, or bark at that, or do this, or even some puppies are humping and they don't know even that they're doing it. So you have to make them aware of this, that you have to stop them, stop the behavior that you don't appreciate, whether it's jumping, barking, chewing on something, or biting. Sometimes there's a bit of a difference between biting and chewing. Chewing is just the busyness of chewing on a toy or something, or a shoe that they're not supposed to, versus biting. Sometimes puppies want to play, but they just go a little bit too hard on your fingers, and you just need them to stop that. So the first mistake most new owners make is when they get a puppy, puppy's doing something they're not supposed to, and people, oh, you should stop them doing that. They often go, oh, it's okay, it's just a puppy. It's okay, just leave it. We only had it just a few days or a few weeks. It's only a puppy, they're still learning. You're in the first year, they're still learning. That is one of the mistakes a lot of people do, and the problem and what a lot of people don't realize is after 1 week, it's almost a permanent habit. That's why you want to train them right now. You want to train them right the first time. You don't want to retrain your dog, because making a bad habit, changing a bad habit to the habit you want them to, if it's part of the dog since the beginning, it's harder to retrain them. So it's important that you train them right the first time. So what you do is you have to treat your puppy as if it's an adult dog, and he or she should have known all along. It's like throwing the kid in the deep and they need to learn to swim right away. So that's kind of the idea behind it. Now, it's not a mean thing, of course, by the puppy just not knowing, but you just got to make them aware of it, that it's a behavior that you don't appreciate. So how do we tell the puppy as it's doing something that you don't want that? So let's use an example for the shoe. Let's say they chew on a shoe and you want to make them stop chewing the shoe. You have to catch them in the act. You cannot do it afterwards. So let's say you come home from work and you find out that they ripped up a pillow or a shoe and it's completely open on the floor, and you have no idea how long it was ago that they did that. You cannot really punish your dog. So like, somebody made a mess down here. I don't know who did it. They kind of have that short-term memory loss type thing happening at that moment. So it happened, same thing with they have an accident on the floor, they pee or poo, oops, sorry, you catch them before you see it coming, or in the act and you go outside. If it's out of mind. Somebody made a mess on the floor here, someone clean it up. That's kind of the idea that happens there, so you need to catch them in the act or it's too late. That's the only way really to train your dog. So when you see them do it, clap your hands, snap your fingers, make a sound, whatever you're comfortable with. I find that human sounds are better than a rattler or something, because often you don't necessarily have a can of beans rattling around to make noise, to make them aware, like, what's going on. They do something, to chew on something, clap your hands, you know, a sound like that, or a whistle if you're more comfortable that way. They will learn that that's your sound that you make when you're trying to discipline them when they do something they're not supposed to do. So you interrupt them first, as in you make them aware, as in the sky is falling. They realize, oh, what's going on? And then you have to physically go to your dog and remove them from the shoe and give them something else to chew on. Whether you remove the shoe or you remove the puppy from it, that's up to you. It doesn't really matter, as long as you give them something else to do. You want to give them a long enough distraction so they forget about the shoe, and now they chew on a toy that they're supposed to chew on. Now, if it's barking, which is obviously not chewing, if they make a noise, every time they bark, I barked, and this is what happens. Every time they bark, the sky is falling. You rattle some cupboards, or you slam the door, something that happens. Every time they bark or do something they're not supposed to, they become aware of it. Sometimes they don't really realize they're doing it sometimes they don't realize that it's a behavior that you don't appreciate. So you need to make them aware of it. That's really what it comes down to. And then as they do it, you remove them from the object, or you give them something else to do, and then you praise them. You give them, good boy, you're just a great puppy, ooh, you good, you. Right? And that's how you get the puppy to forget about the bad stuff, but the good stuff is way better. Why would I bother that? It's scary, get in trouble, and a lot of noise, but this is great. So I'll keep doing this because it makes my person, my boss, makes him happy. So that's obviously what you kind of want to do. Just looking at my cheat sheet here. So in the end, it comes down to really giving them something else to do. Positive reinforcement. That's really what you want to do. You want to give them something else to do, that they forget about the bad stuff and they move on to the next thing. Now, this is for puppy situations, so there will be situations. Maybe you get this video at a later stage and your puppy is now an adult dog and you need to teach them how to behave properly. Now, again, refer to the fundamental section and go over those videos first, and that will make you understand why they still chew or dig or jump or bark. So go over that, and then we'll see you in the next video.